The problem with the Lotus Elise is that it weighs less than 2,000 pounds and it feels like you're on ice skates when you're driving in any level of snow. And so we decided, we probably should pull off and figure out what's happening because we didn't see this in the forecast. I bought a lot of cars in my day, and one of the cars that I had always kind of sought after was a Lotus Elise. Something about the Elise that always appealed to me is that it's just such a driver's sports car. Like, there's a lot of cars that are cool, but they're kind of used to flex, and people kind of drive them around as a thing to brag. But nobody's driving an Elise around to brag because they're just so compromised, but they're such a good driving experience. And it's something I always thought would be kind of cool to own in the garage. So for a long time, I looked for either a Gen 1 Viper or a Lotus Elise. And I did end up getting my Gen 1 Viper, and I had it for a few years at this point. But I finally was starting to come around to the point where I thought, I really need to check that Elise off the box. So I decided to start looking for one. I particularly, as crazy as it sounds, was looking for one as base as I could get because it's a Lotus. It's supposed to be light. I just wanted one that was as light as I could find it. And I wanted one in a ridiculous color because I think that's how that car looks best. Spent a little bit of time looking, and I ended up coming across one in Kansas City, Missouri. I was at a dealership. It was everything I wanted. It was a stripped out version with saffron yellow paint. And I decided, you know what? I think this is the right one. We were able to negotiate a little bit. And I decided I'm going to finally pull the trigger on getting an Elise. So I reach out to the dealership. My sales guy was a really cool fellow car enthusiast, and he asked me how I plan on picking the car up. And of course, as you always do when you buy a car, you got to drive it back. So I tell him that, and his initial reaction was laughter when I told him that, which probably was not the best sign of what I was getting into. But he told me, he said, if you're going to drive it back, I would just highly recommend that you bring a pillow to sit on. Now, I'm in my 20s. This guy's probably old. He probably doesn't know what he's talking about. I'll be fine. It can't be that stiff, right? I mean, it's. We drive down there. I wrote my buddy John going down there with me in his convertible Mustang GT. And this was in January, and normally, obviously, you're not going to want to drive a car like that. I'm from Wisconsin, so we're planning on driving this thing about 8 hours back to Wisconsin. But the weather had been very fair, and it was forecasted to be very fair the whole way back. So I figured, this is the right weekend to go get it. We're going to be good. We were available, and we decided to head down there and make it happen. So we left super early on a Saturday morning, heading into Kansas City. Of course, it had to be a Kansas City Chiefs playoff game, so there was more traffic than there should have been for a Saturday morning. And we're about 2 hours out from Kansas City when the salesperson calls me. He says, hey, I just wanted to check, are you still planning on picking up the car today? And I'm like, well, yeah, I just left. We're coming from Wisconsin. I've been on the road for quite a while already. And he's like, okay, well, I have some bad news for you. I picked the car up from the detail shop, and the blower motor is not working. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, we could get it fixed. Try to, but all the shops are closed. It's a playoff game today. No one's working. It's a Saturday. I'll put it in the sales contract. We'll pay. You can take it whatever shop you want. We'll get it fixed afterwards, which I thought was reasonable. He was willing to put that in the sales contract for me, but it kind of sucks because it was January. It was a little cold, but I'm like, it's not the end of the world. I have a jacket. So we get down to this dealership. Car is awesome. I mean, I'd never driven one before up to that point. Obviously, I had heard a lot about Elises, and I was hooked immediately. I mean, that car was so fun. We're driving it through some industrial park that, once again, completely closed, so we were just able to really enjoy it out there. We really get a good feel for the car. And buy the car, we take it out to lunch. Me and my buddy John, having a great time. And we start to drive back. We had to go pick his car back up. And it was starting to sprinkle a little bit, which is no big deal. I remember making a comment to him along the lines of, if this was snow, we'd be in a really bad situation. And I kind of, unfortunately, called that one ahead of time. Because not 30 minutes into the trip on the way back to Wisconsin, that rain turned into snow pretty quickly. And within probably 15 more minutes, it was to the point where the roads were completely snowed over and it was coming down hard. Now, the problem with the Lotus Elise is that it weighs less than 2,000 pounds and it feels like you're on ice skates when you're driving in any level of snow. And so we decided, we probably should pull off and figure out what's happening because we didn't see this in the forecast. And sure enough, as we pull off the highway going to the gas station, the windshield decides it wants to completely fog over to where I can't see. What do you do normally? You put the defroster on, except the blower motor doesn't work and I now have no vision. And it feels like I'm on ice skates. So a little wiping of the windshield with the back of my hand got us into the gas station parking lot when we realized we pretty much were just dead middle in this storm. It was coming down hard. There was really no way we were avoiding the storm at this point. The car had already been blasted by the salt truck once or twice. So much for keeping it out of the road salts. But we decide our best path forward is to probably just keep it going and get back on the highway. You know, we're doing about 35. That's about all we could safely do in that car. As crazy as it sounds, being behind a semi was the safest spot because their tracks were just deep enough that it felt like I had a little bit more traction. And it was an incredibly long day. My buddy John in his Mustang, he ended up losing a wheel speed sensor, so he had no traction control in his V8 rear-wheel drive Mustang. We ended up splitting off because I was going so much slower than him, and even though we hit a little bit of nice weather probably halfway through, I ended up getting just absolutely hammered as I got into Wisconsin. I pulled off the side of the highway because I couldn't see it anymore, and I would hit the rumble strips on both sides and have no clue where I was at. And I was ready to just completely call it a night. I can't sleep in the car because the sales guy was right. That seat is unbelievably stiff. My back was in pain. You know, I didn't know what to do at that point. So thankfully, there was a hotel about 9 miles down the road. I was able to limp it that last 9 miles, crash in a hotel room. My feet felt like they were blocks of ice because the aluminum tub on the Elise just absorbs the coldness of the snow. And once again, with the no heat, that wasn't really getting resolved. So I crashed in the hotel room. Car was covered in snow the next morning. I had to dig it out with my hands because I didn't have a snow brush, because who does in an Elise? And unfortunately, even though I made it home, that kind of set the tone of what it was like to own the Elise. I had a lot of blower motor issues with that car. The dealership did fix it. They did hole on their initial repair, which we ended up determining to be the resistor for the blower motor. It had gotten wet, and maybe a month after that, it had been working completely fine, and the blower motor itself decided it no longer wanted to work. Every time a blower motor issue would come up, you have to pull the entire clamshell off, and that is quite labor intensive. And the car just ended up feeling a little more fragile than I was expecting. That clamshell is very, very fragile when it gets, bumped or anything. I had a couple recalls, the clamshell to come off for doing that. And, there was just a lot of compromises that, even though they weren't horrible in one sense, it got old really quick. And even to the day I sold it, I had that car for about a year and about 3,000 miles, which is probably more than a lot of Elise owners are willing to put up with in a year. The day I went to sell it, I had another climate control issue. I was showing the guy that bought the car, and the recirculation button would not turn on. So that car just did not want to work correctly in terms of climate control from the beginning, and that unfortunately foreshadowed the Lotus Elise ownership experience. So what I find interesting with comparing the Elise to the first generation Viper is that I actually thought the first generation Viper was a little more usable. The top situation is certainly not on the Viper. That soft top and side windows are just atrocious. It leaks like crazy. It's hard to see out of those side windows. But in almost every other aspect, I actually felt like the Viper was more usable. You had to be careful what you put in the trunk of an Elise, because if you take a corner too fast, it's going to blow right through the fiberglass. The Viper trunk is actually big and can carry plenty of things. The Viper is super smooth on the highway. You can cruise at that thing 70, 80 miles an hour, 6 gear. It is happy, it is content. You're gonna get 20 miles of the gallon, and it actually does really well. Whereas the Elise is screaming at about 4,000 RPM. And it was weird because, people talk so bad about the first generation Viper, like they're so unusable and you're crazy to drive one. And I live in a state that I can't drive it for 4 months of the year, and I drive that car quite a bit. I actually find that it's quite usable, and the Elise just seemed like a whole lot more work to move around on a day-to-day basis.
Autotempest.com just got even better. We've always loved Autotempest because they compile all the results from all the major listing sites into one place with one search. But now they've just added their search by description option, which means that you can just put in a string of text of what car, what miles, whatever you want, and they go to all the sites and give you the results so quickly and so powerfully, so you can see the entire market with more advanced precision than ever before. Of course, if you still want to use the traditional drop-down menus of year, make, model, trim, price, miles, all the things, they allow you to do that, but this makes it so much faster and so much easier to find exactly the car that you're looking for from whatever deep dark corner of the internet it might be trying to hide in. And so check out Auto Tempest now at the link in the description below or with the QR code on your screen to thank them for their support of VINwiki and find your next car on Auto Tempest.